Governor Scott Walker survived the recall election. What do you see as the implications for 2012 elections?
I think the amount of money that was spent in this race is really going to be the conversation that comes out of the Wisconsin recall situation. Chuck Todd of NBC said on our air day before yesterday, I believe, that about $60 million was spent on this race, and that is the same amount of money that basically Albert Gore spent on his presidential election in 2000. That is an extreme amount of money. Most of that was from outside groups spending money in the state. And what we saw was they were flooded with ads. A lot of people were really voting against the recall. They weren't necessarily voting for Scott Walker. But I think the amount of money just spent on that state in this little recall election is the big thing we're going to see play out over the course of 2012.
I think there are two important questions here coming out of Wisconsin for the national picture. One is, how does it change the battleground map for the two candidates? The Obama campaign, when they launched last year, had 6 routes to the presidency. They all included a solid blue Wisconsin in the president's camp. They now consider it a battleground state. That means time and resources. There's also something Ron Brownstein wrote about in the National Journal. Do signals from Wisconsin, the overwhelming vote by blue-collar white voters for Walker, does that tell Obama something about Wisconsin, Ohio, that territory, how it's just going to be a lot harder for him, so he has to spend more time in Virginia and Colorado, states that are more in concert with his the constituency that tends to vote for him. On the Romney side, there's an interesting policy question, which is conservatives see the Walker victory as a ratification of a kind of bold conservatism. You run loud and proud on what you believe, and you fight and you stick to your guns, and you can win. This is also something they believe of Paul Ryan, the House Budget Chairman. So you have two guys from Wisconsin who've run loud and proud. Mitt Romney is an incredibly risk-averse politician. And what conservatives are saying, hey, you need to run on these conservative ideas, not just as the non-Obama, but as something closer to Walker and Ryan. And the question is, will Romney actually embrace that kind of a campaign or stick with the risk-averse one he's run so far?
And I think the idea of the non-Obama is really important with Wisconsin. I think one of the issues people had with Barrett was that he was just the non-Scott Walker, and that isn't necessarily the way to win. And I think Mitt Romney is going to face who are you versus just being the non-President Obama.
Jerry.
Well, I think it's interesting that neither the President Obama nor Mitt Romney stuck their toe into the Wisconsin race, and they didn't put a lot on the line, because I think that's a sign they weren't sure how it was going to play. It was clear that President Obama was worried that if he got involved, he would alienate some independent voters in Wisconsin who did not want to recall Scott Walker, but who are prepared and, in fact, likely to turn around and vote for Barack Obama. In the fall, exit polls showed that those people are there, and something like 18% of the Walker vote came from Obama voters. The second point I'd make just quickly is that I think Wisconsin is like the U.S. in that it was an incredibly polarized place. There weren't very many people who were undecided at the end. The question was getting them out to vote.